Welcome to day 4 of the Lean Hormone Challenge. I am so excited that you're here, and we're going to hop right into it right now. Welcome again, as I mentioned, and I love to start with a question. So before we get rolling, my first question is, how much is spent in the United States every year on fat burners? Let me get all my stuff up here. How much do you think is spent in the United States on fat burners? Put it in the chat if you can. I'd love to see the numbers, but we're not going to wait too long because guess what? I have so much for you today. So it is $2.1 billion spent on just the fat burners. We're not talking about the whole weight loss industry. We're talking about the fat burners alone. Now, what's the problem with that, right? What's the problem with just getting fat burners? If you've been here for all of the days, you know that fat burning is the last step, the step we're going to cover today, but it's the last step of sustainable weight loss that works across the years. All right. So let's recap those other 3 days so we can have everything all in there, right? Number one, we had day one. Step one was appetite control, right? Because we want to be able, we don't want to have to hold on with the grip, like a really strong grip every time we see a cookie or something that's tempting us. We want to be able to say, don't really need that, don't really want that, and it's okay. Appetite control. What are we looking at with that? Leptin and ghrelin. Remember, the one that keeps us lean, the one that makes our stomach growl. We want those to be optimal. We also want our dopamine and our serotonin, those neurotransmitters that make us feel good and that keep us from away from being, eating that whole box of cookies whenever we're upset or sad, right? Step two, fat release. So now the places where we don't want that fat, especially our liver, of course, in the fat cells, the excess, but also in our muscle, because if we've got too much fat, our body just doesn't work as well as it should. So we want to learn how to get it out of the cells where it shouldn't be. What do we do with that? We want to improve our sensitivity to insulin, that hormone that brings all of the sugar out of the blood system and into the cell where we need it for the energy that we want. We also want to optimize our cortisol levels, right? So we don't want to be stressed. We want to make sure that we're nice and mild. We want to stretch during the day, get things moving, and then we want to be able to let things go. Once we got to mobilize, we got all the fat and the toxins mobilized, we got to get rid of it, right? So we want to make sure we're flushing all of those things out. We want to make sure our GI tract is working, but also our kidneys. We want to make sure that we're sweating well. We want to make sure that we're breathing, all of these things to be able to let go of those toxins that we've actually started bringing up just by living, right? Our bodies make toxins every day, and the ones that we are putting on our bodies. Remember that number from yesterday, right? So, what is our agenda for today? Today, I want you to leave here knowing, number one, the master hormone that all of us heard of, but you're probably not getting it tested properly, if you're getting it tested at all. And it has so much to do with weight loss and energy. Number two, the sex hormones that everyone needs if you want to lose weight. And we're not talking about estrogen, we're talking about something else. We're going to be talking about the specific foods, I love doing this, the specific foods that are going to start burning that fat that we're talking about so that you don't have to turn to that $2.1 billion industry for fat burners. Let your body actually be its own fat burner, okay? Number four, the strategies to optimize those hormones, and then the challenge for today. All right. So what we're talking about, and we started talking about it yesterday, is the lean hormone solution. So not just that last step, the fat burning, but all four steps. So we want to be able to control our appetite, to get the fat out of the cells where it doesn't belong, to get it then out of the body where we really don't want it, and then finally today to start activating those fat burning hormones. And this is what we've been putting people through, not with all of these. And even without all four of those issues, the women were having their hormones turning for them, and they started losing the weight with ease. And that's what we want. And I want to promise you that it's possible for you as well. Okay? Absolutely. So today, let's hop right into secret number 4. I started to say secret 1, secret number 4. activating fat burning. We want to be able to do this while we're sleeping. And you're going to find out that it actually really does. So remember that four-step process we talked about before. Number one, we want to control our appetite with those hormones we talked about. Number two, we want to release the stored fat with insulin and cortisol. Number three, we want to clear it safely. So getting rid of the estrogen, excess estrogen, by eating plants as opposed to the things that we're putting on our skin. And then number four, what we're going to be talking about today is activating that fat burning. So, why do you think we have so much trouble? It's like we do, when we're in our 20s, we can kind of get away with almost anything that we want. We can pretty much eat what we want, we hang out all night, we're fine. And then 35, it starts getting a little iffy. And then it seems like we hit 40 and boom, it's like our bodies just know all of a sudden, that this life is not the way it used to be. We're more achy, it's harder to get up in the morning, and we start looking at food and start putting on weight. So why is that? There's two main reasons. One of them is that our metabolic rate starts to decrease with our age. And a lot of that has to do with our thyroid. Okay. That is the gland that makes that master hormone we're going to be talking about in just a second. And the second reason is that our lean muscle mass declines. So think about it. If you're, 40 plus and you weigh a certain thing, even if you weighed exactly the same when you were 20, if you look in the mirror, does your body look the same? Same exact weight? Probably not, unless you're really, really, really working out a lot and taking care of a lot of things we were already talking about. And the reason for that is that our muscle mass starts to decline naturally with age. That's what it's supposed to do. So let's first talk about a thyroid. The thyroid gland is right here in the middle of our neck. It's kind of like butterfly shaped. It's a beautiful, beautiful little gland, and it makes the hormone thyroid. Makes several thyroid hormones. Now these are master hormones. They pretty much tell our body how to run. It's all about our metabolism. So there's a saying in lifestyle medicine: sluggish thyroid, sluggish everything. So we're talking about, your metabolic rate. Of course, everything slows down. And if you look, when you tend to gain weight with thyroid issues, it's over the entire body because everything has just kind of slowed down. Unlike, say, with cortisol, where it's your belly, or estrogen, where it may be your thighs and hips. Thyroid, when that's sluggish, everything is there. It's also, though, our digestion. It's how we make our hormones. It's everything. So if you have a sluggish thyroid, everything's going to be slow. And know that just like with many, many, many other things, if you are stressed, guess what happens? Thyroid function starts tanking. Now, when I mentioned that you probably aren't getting this tested properly, if you're getting it tested at all, it's because most primary care will look maybe at something that's called TSH. I'm not going to get too much into that. They may look at two numbers, but guess what? There's a lot of dis-ease in the thyroid that's not in those two numbers. So you would need a full panel to look at all of that. The second one that you may or may not have heard of, now this is not as popular or as well known as thyroid, is DHEA. I'm not even going to try and say the long word for you, just DHEA is fine. And this is actually made in the adrenals as well. So levels start declining all the way from our 20s. So remember what I was saying, 20s to 30s to 40s, that number is going down, and it does that naturally. Now, the issue with this is that it's a precursor to a lot of our sex hormones. And so if those levels, if the DHEA levels are low, guess what? We're going to struggle with feeling motivated, with feeling strong, with a lot of the issues that are taking care of the hormones that come after it, right? Now, on the other side, if our levels are good, DHEA is known to actually start chewing up that fat that's wrapped around our organs if we've got it. So it's a really good thing to have good levels of it. Now, how many of you want to look like this guy, right? You hear the word testosterone and this is what you think, right? If I take testosterone as a woman, I'm going to start looking like that. Well, the answer is no, you're not. You're going to probably look more like this. Everyone needs testosterone, men and women. Women need it not as to the high levels that men do, but we need it as well because it's involved with our motivation, our metabolism, and our muscle mass. Now, remember what we said: if muscle mass decreases, what happens? You've got more fat, which is more inflammatory. It's harder to lose weight because your metabolism is now lower. Okay, so all of those things. So we do want testosterone, we just don't want it to be too high. And then the last one we'll talk about is HGH, or human growth hormone. And I showed this particular picture because, when we think about growth, we think about bone growth and muscle growth and getting taller. What do we normally think of? We think of babies, right? And what do they do a lot of? They sleep a lot. And where do you think our human growth hormone, our HGH, is most elevated? While we sleep. Okay, so that's another reason why sleep is so important for us. It also, like DHEA, is involved with that fat breakdown and everything. So we want those levels to be good as well. And some of you may be familiar with, like the HGH diet, where you would come in and get an injection of HGH and be on a very, very, very low calorie, nutritional plan, which does work for a period of time, but it's not sustainable. Who wants to be on injections for the rest of their life? Or who wants to, survive on 500 calories a day for the rest of your life? Probably no one. Okay. So we're going to tell you, how do you activate these things on your own? Now, here are the strategies that we're going to be talking about today. Number one is the food. So for thyroid, the thyroid gland loves certain things. One of them is selenium, and Brazil nuts are so high in selenium. All you would need is to eat maybe 2 to 3 Brazil nuts, every couple of days, and you've got enough selenium to make your thyroid happy. Egg yolks, because it also likes iron, right? So egg yolks are very high in iron, especially if you drink it along with something like vitamin C, an acid like orange juice. Okay, those two things work together. And those are the other foods that are also good for your thyroid. For the testosterone, like I said, we want our levels to be not elevated, but we want them to be stable, and we want them to be at a good level. So those are the foods that are related to that. DHEA, cruciferous vegetables, same thing like we were talking yesterday with the estrogens. We want those things to be good, but we don't want to eat a lot of them raw, especially if you already have thyroid things going on. And if you notice there's a wonderful little treat for the DHEA, which is dark chocolate. Now, do not go out like my husband does and buy a big bag of dark chocolate from Costco and then go through it in the next couple of days. Yes, he does do that. But you do want to have at least maybe 1 or 2 pieces, 2, 3 times a week, because that actually is helping your hormone status. And then finally, the human growth hormone. Here's another food that we haven't seen prior to this is pineapple and fava beans. So these, and watermelon, which I also love. So these are some things, these are the foods that you're going to want to start adding in if you want to be involved with that fat burning in your digestion. So what are our foods for today? Pineapple, walnut, overnight oats. Now, I'm sure you were thinking, is she ever going to have anything like oats and potatoes? And yes, you do. This is a wonderful thing. The oats here are great for what we're doing right now. The second is a spinach and mushroom salad with a dark chocolate vinaigrette. I saw that and I was like, wow, chocolate on your salad with nuts? Okay, amazing. So give it a try. And then the last one is that baked cod with a Brazil nut pesto and roasted. Remember I said you don't want to eat too many raw cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. You want to have them cooked, and just have those. And that's the meal that we have for today. Okay. So let's go into, now that we have those 4 days, let's go into specifically, how do we actually bring this into our own lives, right? How do we start controlling the appetite, releasing the stored fat, clearing the fat and toxins, and then actually burning it up so that it just is all gone? Because if you're here, most likely you've tried things before. They may or may not have worked. And now we understand why they didn't work. Because if you're not hitting all 4 of these things, it's very, very difficult to maintain fat loss over a long period of time. The other thing that it really matters and is really necessary is that decision. the decision that you make, that this is the time that you're going to start making these choices to bring this into your life. So this being able to be clear about what you want at this point and why you want it. Why is it important to you now to make this change? Is it for yourself? Is it only for yourself? Is it for those that you love and who love you back? Is it for what you want to do in the world? Is it for your purpose? One of the reasons, several of the reasons that I decided that, it was time for me to change was I wanted to be around for my grandkids. And especially at the time, well, my son just did get married last year, but prior to that, they weren't married. They weren't looking about getting married. And even now, it's like grandchildren, it may be a while. So I want to be able, when they do decide to have children, that I am able to play with them, to get on the floor, roll around with them, and get back up again, and not have to be climbing on things and ooching and ahhing as I'm doing that. That's one of the reasons that I do it. The other reason is that I love going out and teaching what I know about health and wellness. And if I'm not well, what am I going to do? How can I do that to others or for others? The second is to be committed to your choice. So, whatever it is, whatever reason you decide to make this commitment right now, you want to be able to be committed to it. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be talking with you, Gina. Absolutely. You want to be committed to everything that you've now decided. Why? Because you love yourself, right? You love yourself enough to stick with it, and you love others around you because they want you around as much as possible. And then finally, you have to have the confidence to be able to stick with it when it gets hard. Remember, we talked about that later. In the first couple of days, the first couple of weeks, everything's exciting, it's new, and you're all in. And then something happens. Maybe there's an event, or maybe there's, a party, or maybe you're just tired one day. Remember, if you're not sleeping well, there's an issue. Things are going to get harder that next day. So whatever it is, there's going to be a point. I promise you, there's going to be a point where it starts to get difficult. And that's where the confidence, the commitment, and the clarity comes in, right? So this is the lean hormone solution we just talked about. And where do you start? So in Premier Wellness, we have 4 quadrants. If you notice, I think I do like to have 4. I'm not quite sure why. But in any case, we want to be able to eat elite. So I've been sharing with you the nutritional part of the lean hormone system, right? But you also want to be able to move more. And I do not mean exercise more, I mean move more. All you need to do is move throughout your day. If you're someone who's at a desk all day or traveling on the road and you can't get to a gym, or maybe you don't even want to go to a gym, you don't have to. And all you need to do is move throughout your day. And there are specific things you can do to make that easier. You want to live wisely. And what that is sleeping well. So sleeping that 7 to 9 hours each night that you absolutely need. Now even your hormones need that sleep. It's not just what your brain thinks, it's what your hormones actually need. You want your stress levels to be low, because if they're not, we're shooting up cortisol, we're shooting up insulin, we're shooting up all of the hormones that are fat storing. And then finally, we want to love divinely. Remember what I said, we want to love ourselves enough to stick with it. We want to love those in our families and the loved ones so that, again, we stick with it. And then finally, we want to bring that out to the world. Right? So in the lean hormone solution, we're going to support you for several things, right? We want you to have that energy back. Remember, I talked about getting on the floor and rolling around and jumping back up again. We want that energy every single day. And I read a lot of the quizzes that you sent in, the responses to the quizzes. And most of you, as a matter of fact, it was almost 100% across the board, where people were saying they were struggling with energy, that they don't have the energy that they want to be able to do the things they want to do. So we want to support you with that. 2, we want you to stop dieting. Take like I said, take that word out of your vocabulary. You never want to diet again. All you want to do is to turn your body, both its hormones, its thoughts, its ideas, turn them and have them actually working for you, supporting you, and bringing yourself back to the natural, strong, vibrant, fit person that you actually are. And then we want to drop kick that cardio. We just talked about that. And we just want you to feel at ease because this isn't going to be a typical cookie cutter course where, you come in, everybody gets the same plan, and they often do work. But if it's not personalized, if it's not customized for you, like what of those four quadrants is your downfall at this point? Let's work on that first, get you strong in that so that we can then build and progress as we go along. So, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be doing Refresh Cleanse Plus. Now, I've done the Refresh Cleanse for years, and so many women have gone through it with decreased inflammation. They start sleeping better immediately. But now, with the addition of hormones, with those targeted hormones for those four quadrants, it's unbelievable. So we'll be taking you through that, clearing your toxins, losing the cravings, so that when you get to the end of the program, you're solid. You don't have to struggle anymore. And this is what Sarah found out. She was a mom. I shared this with you yesterday if you were on the call. Sarah was a mom who has her little girl, but she was also working full time at home. And so by the time she finished her work, she was exhausted. And she just didn't have the time that she wanted and to spend with her daughter in the way that she wanted. And so, literally within 3 weeks, she was saying that she was so focused and able. She was finishing her work hours before when it used to be when she was fighting through brain fog. And now she has the time to play with her daughter in the way that she really wants to. Snacks Life Fitness with David, our personal trainer. So he's our personal trainer, he's our weight loss specialist, and he's also the high performance coach. So, with those three things, he's going to show you specifically what are the things that you need to do to get that exercise in during the day without having to go to the gym, without having to sweat. Because if a lot of us are in the office, we don't have time to be sweating and then put makeup back on. And then, no, we're not doing that. But we want to be able to do the things that you need over that period of time. And that's what Chrissy was seeing. Chrissy was struggling with working out. And so she found with David, with these little short areas of time, that she was getting the movement in, getting stronger, getting that muscle tone we just talked about that she needs to increase her metabolism without the hours in the gym. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's so important that as we get older, that we're not focusing so much on the cardio, but more on muscle tone and muscle strength. That's what's going to keep us steady on our feet. We don't want to be one of those statistics of the elderly who fall, break a hip, and the next thing you know, they're out of here, right? We want to be strong throughout all of our active years, okay? And we want those years to be golden. We're going to give you targeted recipes. So not just, here, take this and eat it, but we're going to target them, as you saw over the last 4 days, to the specific foods that are going to be giving you the specific support that you need at that time. And that's what Lynn found, is that her inflammation was gone. That was another thing I saw a lot in the quizzes, that many of you have either joint pain or other signs of inflammation, aches and pains and things throughout your body. So this is going to start clearing that inflammation out versus going to decrease it. And then now you know how to actually get it out of your body. Okay. We also want you to do stress reduction. So in an innovative way, in a way that is not necessarily, sitting with your arms crossed on a cushion and saying Om. And not that that's not a wonderful way to reduce stress, but let's face it, it's not for everyone. And so there are other ways that we can do that, especially by accessing that heart-brain connection. That's a best way to do that. And Lisa, one of the coaches that we work with, loves these practices. So she'll be sharing some of those with you. We're going to be offering also a VIP onboarding call, because we don't want you to be floundering when you first join. We want to show you what's possible for you and then guide you through, right? So those are the 5 things: Snacks Life, the targeted meals, the stress reduction, and then that onboarding call, right? So let's think about it, and just think about in your own mind, if this was only giving you those first steps. And let me tell you, if you take this and run with it, it's going to be way more than your first steps. If all you did with those first steps? Would it be worth to you? Because, like I said, before, I spent thousands of dollars trying to figure this out, experimenting on myself, finding out what was wrong with me and how to fix it. And years, it took me years to get from where I was, overweight, fatigued, brain fog, almost out of here, to where I am today, where I'm energetic and full of life and ready to share with others. So I want you to cut that whole learning curve, right? So with the lean hormone solution, what's included? That refresh cleanse we talked about, the targeted nutrition just for you. Snacks Life Fitness. Every week you're willing and ready to come in and start learning the things that you can do throughout your week. The recipe and guides, the onboarding, the classes, and the Facebook group. And I know that there are many people who are not on Facebook, who don't like being on Facebook, who would never go on Facebook. And so, what we're doing within the next month or two, we are going to have our own private community off site on a different site altogether. So, whether you're a Facebook fan or not, we've got you covered. All right. So, all of those things together would be that value, 1538. But for the 6 week class, it's actually going to be $497. So 6 weeks for $497. That's less than $100 a week or so. Absolutely worth it for what you're going to learn and for how you're going to change over the course of those days. Okay. So, what is it worth to you? You know, what is it worth to be able to, as I mentioned, roll on the floor and play with your kids? What's it worth to have the energy and the focus and the creativity that many of you have said that you wanted when you're at your job, and which you can't have if you're fatigued or tired or if your hormones are all in a whack? What's it like to be able to be with the ones that you love, whether it's one to one or one to many? What is it like for that to actually happen, and what is it worth to you? And for those of you here today, I want to add something additionally, because I find that this is so important to actually review your labs, to take whatever lab work you've had over the course of the last year, and I will sit down, review them myself, and then go over them with you. Because remember, we talked about some of the lab issues like thyroid, and that's one of the examples I'm going to give. You don't get either you don't get the right testing, or they're only evaluated with the normal ranges. And we don't want to be normal anymore. We want to be optimal. And so I'm going to be going over those with you as we do that. And that's what Kelly found out that I was mentioning before. She'd been going year after year after year, and getting her thyroid tested. They do 2 tests usually as a screen, which were normal. But guess what? All of the outside things were not. And that's why she was struggling. And so when she got her thyroid under control, she lost the weight, she had more energy. It was great. So now, she's not just hearing they're fine, they're actually good. And we're also going to add a bonus of Thrive, the book that you see in the background, which I wrote as a part of an initial class that I had, which is 5 weeks to mastering your energy at any age. And so now we've upgraded it, but the information in there is wonderful as far as, getting through some of the other things in the program. So who's with me? Let me remind you again of what's included: the cleanse, Snacks Life Fitness, the guides, the VIP onboarding, the group, and now those bonuses. So now the value is up to $22.50, but the price today is, and it's not changing, but the price now is $497. Okay. What Carrie found was that when her hormones were acting right, she had no more hot flashes. That was something she felt like she was living in the refrigerator. She would have a flash, she would run to the fridge, open it up, and just kind of, sort of start feeling better that way. Within a month, her flashes were gone, because now she was getting rid of that excess estrogen. If you remember from day 2, day 3, if you remember from yesterday, getting rid of excess estrogen and toxins is so important. When you do that, then you actually stop flashing. Okay. Because remember, and this is one of my favorite sayings, in a year from now, you're either going to be where you wanted to be or still wishing that you were. Okay. So think a year from now. Where are you going to be? Are you still going to be wondering, why am I like that? Why am I struggling with my weight? Why am I struggling with my hormones? Why am I struggling, period? Or will you have taken yourself through this 6 weeks, 6 weeks to be able to start changing your life? Okay. Again, this is all of what's included for today, 497 only. Okay. So this is where you can actually purchase it. If you have any questions or anything, you can always email us or call us. David will be happy to explain things to you. Let me take a look and see if there are any messages here. Gina says, "Oh, God bless you. Thank you. Postmenopausal. Okay. See, sweet potatoes. No, no raw cruciferous. Yes, 7 and 9. Love you. Thank you. Very good. So again, this is what's included, and are you worth it? If you think about it, it's what, not even $100 a week. And do we spend not that much on a lot of things that won't make these kind of changes in our lives? I think we do. I mean, the usual one, how much you spend on a Starbucks coffee. Multiply that by 5, that's your week, right? So, what is it? What's more worth it? Something that's going to support you for the rest of your life going forward, or a drink that you drink and is gone in 20 minutes. Which one? Okay. Let me see if there's anything under there. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, Mickey. There will be replays. Like I mentioned, the first day, the sound was kind of weird, so I'll record that one again. But I will do all of those again. I will have them all up and listed. You'll also, if you did sign up for the quiz, you will also get, and have the quiz done, you will also get our flip book with all of the recipes. What else is going on? I think that's it. Thank you, Emmy. You're so sweet. I love you. Share with your lady friends. Thank you, Gina. I would appreciate that because it's so much fun when we go through together. If you go through everything together with the cohort, right? You don't want to feel alone. And guess what? You're not alone. The mere fact that there are people on this call and there are some watching it streaming live in various places as well, the mere fact that there are so many people who have responded to this means that you are not alone. And I want to be able to support you so that, the fact that you are now over 40 and things are changing, like that picture I showed, now you know the reason. And now you know the steps that you can take. And I would love to be able to support you doing that going forward. All right. Well, that is it for today. That's it for the challenge. I am so glad that you all were here. I love the fact you were here. And for all of you who stayed all 4 days, congratulations. Thank you so much. I'll be sending things out that we just talked about, the flip book, the replays, everything, because you made the decision to spend this time on yourself, to bringing yourself forward to that next life. All right. Thank you. This is Dr. Susan. I'm the Thrive Architect. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great, great, great day and a great life. Bye-bye.